My name is Maya Richardson. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a corporate event planner from Charleston, South Carolina. On June 17, 2023, the day I married the man I thought I'd spend my life with, he tried to kill me. At my own wedding. In front of 150 guests. With a glass of champagne that was meant for me. But I'm the one standing here today. And he's serving 25 years in a federal prison. This is how I survived my wedding day. This is my true crime story. And I need you to hear every single word of it. Before we go any further, if you're interested in supporting women telling their truth, please hit that like button and subscribe. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need to know you're listening. Let's go back to the beginning. His name was Damon Hartley. And when I think back to the first time I saw him, I can still remember exactly what I was wearing. A navy blue sheath dress, nude heels, my hair pulled back in a low bun. Professional. Polished. In control. It was April of 2021. I was coordinating a charity gala for a medical nonprofit in Charleston, one of those black tie events with silent auctions and keynote speakers and people who write five-figure checks before dessert is even served. I'd been planning events like this for almost 10 years. I was good at it. I knew how to make everything look effortless even when it wasn't. Damon was there as a guest. He wasn't a major donor, but he was on the list. Supposedly a financial consultant with his own firm, doing well enough to afford the $500 per plate dinner. He was tall, 6'2", with broad shoulders, dark brown skin, a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, and a smile that could disarm you from across the room. He approached me during cocktail hour while I was checking in with the catering manager. Most guests don't talk to the planner. They don't even notice you. But Damon walked right up, extended his hand, and said, "You put this together, didn't you?" I remember being caught off guard. "I did. Is everything okay?" "Everything's perfect," he said. "I've been to a lot of these things, and this is one of the best. You've got an eye for detail." It was a small compliment, but it felt genuine. And in an industry where you're usually only noticed when something goes wrong, that meant something. We talked for maybe 10 minutes. He asked about my work, how I got into event planning, what I loved about it. He didn't talk about himself much. He just listened. Really listened. It felt rare. Before he left that night, he asked for my number. I gave it to him. 2 days later, he texted me. Not immediately. He didn't play that game. Just a simple message. Had a great time talking with you Saturday. Would love to take you to dinner if you're interested. I said yes. Our first date was at Fleet Landing, a seafood restaurant right on the water in downtown Charleston. He picked me up at 7, opened the car door, complimented my dress without being over the top. We sat outside on the patio and talked for 3 hours. He told me he grew up in Atlanta. His mother passed away when he was in college, breast cancer. His father remarried a few years later and moved to Florida. He had a younger brother he didn't talk to much. He said he valued loyalty above everything else because he'd seen what happened when people didn't have it. I told him about my family. My father, a retired postal worker who still woke up at 5 a.m. every day out of habit. My mother, a school librarian who knew every kid in her district by name. My younger sister Janelle, who taught 2nd grade and had just gotten engaged herself. Damon asked questions. Good questions. The kind that showed he was actually paying attention. What's your favorite part of your job? What's something most people don't know about you? If you could plan any event in the world, no budget, what would it be? I answered all of them. And he remembered every single answer. For the next year and a half, Damon became everything I thought I wanted. He integrated into my life seamlessly. He met my parents within the first 2 months, came to Sunday dinner at their house, complimented my mother's mac and cheese, talked sports with my father. He won them over immediately. My mother pulled me aside that night and said, "That man loves you, Maya. I can see it in how he looks at you." My father said, "He's solid. I like him." Janelle called me the next day. "Girl, if you don't marry him, I will." Everyone loved Damon. He was thoughtful in ways that felt intentional. He'd send flowers to my office after a big event. He'd pick up my favorite Thai takeout when I was working late. He remembered that I didn't like surprise parties, so he never threw one. He remembered that I loved old movies, so he'd plan movie nights with classics I hadn't seen in years. On our 6-month anniversary, He took me to Hilton Head for the weekend. We stayed in a beachfront suite, walked on the sand at sunrise, had dinner at a restaurant where the chef came out to talk to every table. I remember thinking, this is what it's supposed to feel like. I remember thinking, I'm so lucky. In November of 2022, we went to Savannah for a weekend trip. Damon said he wanted to explore the city, check out some of the historic sites, just get away for a couple of days. I didn't think anything of it. On Saturday night, he told me he'd made reservations at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the river. I wore a burgundy dress. He wore a navy suit. When we got there, the entire rooftop had been reserved. Just for us. There were candles everywhere. String lights overhead. A violinist playing in the corner. A table set for two with white roses in the center. I started crying before he even said anything. Damon took my hand, led me to the table, and then he got down on one knee. Maya, he said, you are the kindest, strongest, most beautiful woman I've ever met. You make me want to be better. You make me believe in forever. Will you marry me? The ring was stunning. A 2-carat round diamond on a platinum band. Simple. Elegant. Exactly what I would have picked for myself. I said yes. I said yes, so fast I almost didn't get the word out. I thought I'd won the lottery. I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. We set the date for June 17th, 2023. A summer wedding. Warm weather, long days, the kind of southern evening where the air smells like magnolia and jasmine. My mother and I spent months planning. We visited 12 venues before we found the one, a restored plantation estate just outside Charleston with gardens that looked like they belonged in a painting and a ballroom with crystal chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows. I found my dress at a boutique in downtown Charleston. It was the third one I tried on. Ivory, fitted bodice, lace sleeves, a cathedral train that trailed 6 feet behind me. When I stepped out of the dressing room, my mother cried. Janelle took 100 pictures. The consultant said, that's the one. I knew she was right. We chose Dusty Rose for the bridesmaids. My maid of honor, my best friend since college named Tasha, helped me pick out every detail. The flowers, the invitations, the menu, the cake. We tasted 17 different cake flavors before settling on lemon with raspberry filling. Damon was involved, too. He helped pick the music, the photographer, the bar menu. He said he wanted everything to be perfect for me. He said this was our day, but it was really mine, and he just wanted me to be happy. I believed him. God, I believed every word. June 17th, 2023. The day started at 6 in the morning. I woke up in a bridal suite at the venue with my bridesmaids, my mother and Janelle. Someone had already brought up mimosas and a tray of pastries from a local bakery. We toasted with orange juice and champagne while the sun came up through the windows. My makeup artist arrived at 7. She set up in the corner of the suite with lights and brushes and enough foundation to paint a house. She worked on me for an hour and a half. Soft glam, she called it. Glowing skin, subtle smoky eye, a nude lip that wouldn't smudge when Damon kissed me at the altar. The hairstylist came at 8:30. She curled my hair in loose waves, pinned half of it back with a crystal comb, and left the rest cascading down my back. At 10, the photographer arrived and started taking getting-ready photos. Me in my robe, my mother fastening my necklace, Janelle holding my bouquet, Tasha spraying my dress with wrinkle release even though it didn't need it. At 11:30, I stepped into my dress. It took 3 people to zip it up and button all 27 buttons down the back. When I turned around and looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. I looked like a bride. I looked like a woman on the happiest day of her life. My mother started crying again. Janelle recorded it on her phone. Tasha said, Damon's going to lose his mind when he sees you. I thought so, too. The ceremony was scheduled for 2 o'clock. By 1:30, guests were starting to arrive. I could hear them from the bridal suite. Laughter, music, the sound of heels on the stone walkway leading to the garden. At 1:45, the coordinator came to get us. It's time, she said. My bridesmaids lined up. My father met me at the entrance to the garden. He was wearing a black tuxedo and a bow tie, and when he saw me, he teared up. You look just like your mother did on our wedding day, he said. I kissed his cheek. Don't make me cry, Daddy. My makeup's already done. He laughed, took my arm, and we waited for the music to start. The weather was perfect. 78 degrees. Clear skies. a soft breeze that made the rose petals on the aisle flutter just slightly. The string quartet started playing Canon in D. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle one by one. And then it was my turn. The music changed to Here Comes the Bride. Everyone stood, and I walked down that aisle on my father's arm, holding my bouquet of white roses and peonies, staring straight ahead at Damon. He was standing at the altar in a black tuxedo with a white rose boutonniere pinned to his lapel. His hands were folded in front of him, and when he saw me, his face broke into the biggest smile I'd ever seen. I felt like I was floating. The ceremony lasted 30 minutes. The officiant spoke about love and commitment and partnership. He read a passage from Corinthians. He talked about the sacred bond of marriage. And then it was time for the vows. Damon went first. "Maya," he said, "I promise to love you in good times and bad. I promise to support your dreams and be your safe place when the world gets hard. I promise to make you laugh, to hold you when you cry, and to never let you doubt how much you mean to me. You are my best friend, my partner, my forever." People in the audience were wiping their eyes. Then it was my turn. "Damon," I said, and my voice cracked a little, "I promise to stand by your side no matter what. I promise to trust you, to respect you, and to build a life with you that's full of love and joy. You've shown me what it means to be chosen, and I choose you, today and every day." I meant every single word. The officiant smiled. "By the power vested in me by the state of South Carolina, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Damon, you may kiss your bride." Damon stepped forward, took my face in his hands, and kissed me softly. The garden erupted in applause. We turned to face the crowd, and the officiant said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Hartley." We walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, while guests threw rose petals and cheered. I thought it was the happiest moment of my life. I had no idea what was coming. The cocktail hour started at 3 o'clock, while the venue staff flipped the ceremony space into the reception setup. Guests mingled in the garden, sipping signature cocktails we'd named after ourselves. The Maya was a lavender gin fizz, and the Damon was an old-fashioned with orange bitters. Damon and I spent the hour taking photos with the photographer. Post shots by the fountain, candids in the garden, close-ups of our rings. The photographer kept saying, "You two are magic together." At 4 o'clock, the coordinator told us it was time to head into the ballroom. The ballroom was stunning. The ceiling was draped with white fabric and string lights. Every table had tall centerpieces with roses, hydrangeas, and eucalyptus. The head table was draped in ivory linens with gold chargers and crystal glassware. Our names were projected on the wall in elegant script, Maya and Damon. The DJ announced us, "Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time as husband and wife, Maya and Damon Hartley." We walked into Beyoncé's Love on Top, and everyone cheered. Our first dance was next, At Last by Etta James. Damon held me close, whispered in my ear, "I can't believe you're my wife." I whispered back, "I can't believe you're my husband." We swayed together while everyone watched. It felt like a dream. Dinner was served at 5:30. Herb-crusted chicken, roasted vegetables, garlic mashed potatoes, and a spring mixed salad with balsamic vinaigrette. We'd spend hours choosing the menu. Everything tasted perfect. After dinner came the toasts. My father went first. He stood up, tapped his glass, and told stories about me as a little girl. How I used to plan weddings for my dolls and charge my sister a nickel to attend. How I'd always been organized, determined, and stubborn in the best way. "And Damon," my father said, turning to him, "you're getting a woman who will love you fiercely, challenge you daily, and make your life better in every way. Take care of her, because if you don't, you'll have to answer to me." Everyone laughed. Damon raised his glass. "Yes, sir." Tasha went next. She told funny stories from college, the time I planned an entire charity event in 3 days, the time I color-coded my class notes, the time I organized her closet without asking because it was stressing me out just looking at it. "Maya is the most capable person I know," Tasha said. "And Damon, you're lucky to have her." We all are. More applause, more tears, and then it was time for the champagne toast. The servers had already poured champagne into crystal flutes for every guest. A sea of bubbles and elegant glassware ready to be raised in celebration. 2 special glasses were set aside for Damon and me on the head table. Crystal flutes etched with our initials, M and D, and the date, June 17th, 23. They'd been a gift from my mother. She'd ordered them custom. I looked at those glasses and felt a rush of gratitude. For my family. For this moment. For this man beside me. The DJ handed Damon the microphone. But before he could start, I realized I needed to use the restroom. I leaned over. "Baby, I'll be right back. Don't start without me." He grinned. "Hurry up." I kissed his cheek, grabbed my dress, and headed toward the hallway. That 5-minute trip to the bathroom saved my life. When I came back into the ballroom, I saw Damon standing at the head table. Alone. His back was to me. He was leaning slightly over the table, and his right hand was hovering directly over my champagne glass. I stopped walking. Something in my body reacted before my brain did. My heart started pounding. My palms went cold. I stood there, frozen, about 15 feet away, partially hidden by one of the tall floral arrangements near the entrance. And I watched. Damon reached into the inside pocket of his tuxedo jacket and pulled something out. A small glass vial, maybe 2 inches tall. Clear liquid inside. I watched him glance around, just a quick look, like he was checking to make sure no one was watching. And then he unscrewed the cap. Time slowed down. I saw him tilt the vial over my champagne glass. I saw the liquid pour out. Just a few drops. Maybe 5 or 6. Silent. Invisible in the bubbles. He screwed the cap back on. Slipped the vial back into his jacket pocket. Adjusted his tie. Straightened his jacket. And then he turned around. He didn't see me. I was still standing there, hidden by the flowers, my hand gripping my bouquet so hard I thought the stems would snap. My entire body went into shock. My hands started trembling. My vision tunneled. I couldn't breathe. My brain was screaming 2 completely opposite things at the same time. One voice was saying, "He just put something in your drink. He just poisoned you. That man you married is trying to kill you. Run. Scream. Get help." The other voice was saying, "No. That's insane. That's your husband. You just married him 2 hours ago. Maybe it was vitamins. Maybe it was a supplement. Maybe it was some kind of surprise. Maybe you didn't see what you thought you saw. You're paranoid. You're crazy." I stood there, paralyzed by those 2 voices, for what felt like an eternity. But it was probably only 10 seconds. And in those 10 seconds, I had to make a choice. Trust my gut, or trust the man I just married. I chose my gut. I forced myself to take a deep breath. I smoothed down my dress. I put on a smile. And I walked toward the head table like nothing was wrong. Damon saw me coming. His face lit up. "There you are, baby. I was starting to think you got lost." I laughed. It sounded fake to me, but he didn't notice. "Just freshening up. Big moment, you know." He put his arm around my waist and pulled me close. "The biggest. You ready to do this?" I looked up at him. At his smile. At his eyes. At the man I thought I knew. And I said, "Absolutely." I glanced down at the head table. 2 crystal champagne flutes. Side by side. His. And mine. Identical. Except one of them had poison in it. I reached for the glass closest to me, the one that was supposed to be mine. The one I just watched him drug. I picked it up and held it up to the light. "These glasses are so beautiful. Look at how the light catches the etching." Damon looked. "Yeah, your mom did good." I smiled, turned slightly toward him, gestured with the glass as I spoke. And in that motion, smooth, natural, casual, I set my glass down on the table and picked up his. It took 2 seconds. He didn't notice. I was now holding his glass, the clean one, and his glass, the poison one, was sitting directly in front of him. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might pass out, but my face stayed calm. I touched his arm. "You ready, baby?" He grinned, picked up the glass in front of him, the poisoned one, without even looking at it. "Let's do this." The DJ turned down the music. Damon raised his hand, and the room quieted. All 150 guests turned their attention to us. My family, his friends, co-workers, people who'd flown in from out of state, people who'd bought gifts and gotten dressed up and spent their Saturday celebrating our love. They had no idea what was happening. Damon lifted the microphone to his lips, and he started his toast. Everyone, he said, his voice warm and steady, I just want to take a moment to say how grateful I am to be standing here today. People smiled. A few raised their glasses already. Maya is the love of my life, he continued. She's beautiful, smart, kind, driven, everything I've ever wanted in a partner. She makes me a better man. She makes me believe in forever. My mother was crying. My father had his arm around her. Damon turned to me, looked right into my eyes. Baby, I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. To build a home with you. To grow old with you. He raised his glass higher. The room echoed the motion. To my wife. To forever. The entire ballroom responded. To forever. And then I leaned in. Close enough that my lips brushed his ear. Close enough that only he could hear me. And I whispered, I saw what you put in my glass. His entire body went rigid. His face froze. For one split second, I saw the mask drop. Confusion. Panic. Realization. His eyes flicked down to the glass in his hand. Then back to me. Then to the glass again. And I watched him understand. But the room was watching. The moment was happening. Everyone was waiting. There was no way out. I pulled back and smiled at him. A cold, calm smile. Cheers, baby. And I raised my glass, his clean glass, to my lips. And I drank. Damon's hand was shaking. He looked at the glass in his hand. Looked at me. Looked at the 150 people watching him. He had no choice. He lifted the glass to his lips. And he drank. For the first minute, nothing happened. The room erupted in applause. People clinked glasses. The DJ started the music back up. A few guests came over to hug us. Damon set his glass down and smiled at them. But I could see it in his eyes. He knew. At the 2-minute mark, I saw him blink a few times. Like he was trying to clear his vision. At 3 minutes, he wiped his forehead. It's hot in here. I touched his arm. You okay? Yeah. Just warm. At 4 minutes, his face went pale. At 5, he was sweating through his tuxedo. At 6, he grabbed the edge of the table. Damon, I said, loud enough for people to hear. Baby, what's wrong? He opened his mouth to respond. And his legs gave out. He collapsed onto the floor. Someone screamed. My father rushed over. Call 911. Tasha grabbed my arm. Maya, what's happening? I stood there, perfectly still, and said, I don't know. But I did know. I knew exactly what was happening. The ballroom descended into chaos. People surrounded him. Someone loosened his tie. Someone else tilted his head back. Damon was barely conscious. His eyes were rolling back. His breathing was shallow and ragged. I knelt beside him, touched his face, and I whispered, so only he could hear. You tried to kill me. His eyes focused on mine for just a second, and then they closed. The paramedics arrived in 12 minutes. They pushed through the crowd, dropped their equipment, and immediately started working on him. What did he ingest? Does he have any medical conditions? Is he on any medications? I told them the truth. I think he was poisoned. One of the paramedics looked up at me. Poisoned? Yes. I saw him put something in a drink. I think he drank it by mistake. They exchanged looks. They loaded him onto a stretcher and wheeled him out. I followed, not because I wanted to, but because that's what a wife does. They rushed him into the emergency room at MUSC, Medical University of South Carolina. I sat in the waiting room in my wedding dress, still holding my bouquet, mascara streaked down my face. My parents arrived 20 minutes later. Janelle, Tasha, half the wedding party. Everyone kept asking me what happened. I told them I didn't know. But when the police arrived an hour later, I told them the truth. 2 detectives, a man and a woman, both in plain clothes. They took me to a private room. Mrs. Hartley, the female detective said, we need you to walk us through exactly what happened tonight. So I did. I told them about the bathroom, about coming back and seeing Damon alone at the table, about the vial, about the pour. I told them about the switch. The male detective stopped writing. You switched the glasses? Yes. So your husband drank from the glass that was intended for you? Yes. And you're saying he poisoned his own drink? No, I said. I'm saying he poisoned my drink. And I switched them. They stared at me. The detectives went back to the venue. They searched the head table. They interviewed guests. They found Damon's tuxedo jacket in the bridal suite, where the paramedics had cut it off him. And in the inside pocket, they found the vial. Still there. Still with residue inside. They bagged it. Sent it to the lab. 3 hours later, the toxicology report came back. Fentanyl. A synthetic opioid. 50 times stronger than heroin. The amount in that vial was enough to kill me within 5 to 10 minutes. If I'd drunk from that glass, I would have collapsed at my own wedding. And I would have died before the ambulance arrived. Damon survived. They pumped his stomach, gave him Narcan, kept him on a ventilator for 2 days. When he woke up, the first thing he saw was a police officer standing by his bed. And the first thing he heard was, "Damon Hartley, you're under arrest for attempted murder." The detectives didn't stop with the vial. They got a warrant for Damon's phone. And what they found destroyed any remaining piece of my heart. Text messages, hundreds of them, to a woman named Simone Turner. Simone worked at the same co-working space Damon rented an office from. She was 26, single, a graphic designer. They'd been having an affair for 8 months. The messages were explicit, detailed, romantic, but the worst ones were the ones about me. She has no idea. After the wedding, it'll all be over. The policy pays out in 60 days. Then we're free. We just have to be patient a little longer. I read those messages in the detective's office, and I felt like I was going to throw up. The policy. A life insurance policy Damon had taken out on me 6 months before the wedding. $2 million. He told me it was smart financial planning. He said we both should have policies on each other in case anything ever happened. I signed the paperwork without question. Because I trusted him. Because I thought we were building a life together. But he was planning my death. The detectives kept digging. They pulled Damon's financial records. His consulting firm. It didn't exist. He'd been lying about his job for over a year. He had no clients. No income. No business. He was $340,000 in debt. Credit cards maxed out. Personal loans from shady lenders. He'd even borrowed money from his brother and never paid it back. He was desperate, and that insurance policy was his way out. All he had to do was kill me, and he almost did. Damon was charged with attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and possession of a controlled substance with intent to harm. His bail was set at $1 million. He couldn't pay it, so he sat in county jail for 4 months waiting for trial. Simone was arrested, too. She claimed she didn't know about the murder plot, but the text messages said otherwise. She took a plea deal, testified against him in exchange for a reduced sentence. The trial started in October of 2023. I sat in that courtroom every single day. I watched Damon walk in wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. I watched the prosecutor show the jury the vial, the texts, the insurance policy, the financial records. I watched Simone take the stand and admit they'd been planning to run away together after I was dead. And then I took the stand. I told my story. The whole thing. From the moment I met Damon to the moment he collapsed on the floor of our wedding reception. I described the vial, the pour, the switch. I described the look on his face when I whispered in his ear. The defense attorney tried to break me. "Mrs. Hartley, isn't it possible you were mistaken about what you saw? No. Isn't it possible this was all a tragic accident? No. Isn't it possible you switched those glasses for some other reason and you're simply confused?" I looked right at him. "I am not confused," I said, "and I am not mistaken. My husband tried to kill me, and I'm still here because I trusted myself." The jury deliberated for 2 hours and 43 minutes. They came back with a verdict. Guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted. My mother sobbed. My father hugged me. Janelle squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. Damon sat there, stone-faced, staring straight ahead. Sentencing happened 2 weeks later. The judge gave him 25 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole. Simone got 7 years as an accessory. And I walked out of that courtroom a free woman. It's been almost 2 years now. I'm not the same person I was on June 17, 2023. I've been in therapy twice a week since the trial ended. I've worked through trauma I didn't even realize I was carrying. I've learned how to trust again, slowly, carefully, but genuinely. I rebuilt my business, lost a few clients after everything went public, but gained more who respected my story and my strength. I reconnected with my family in ways I didn't know I needed. Sunday dinners at my parents' house. Girls' nights with Janelle. Long phone calls with Tasha where we don't talk about Damon at all. I got my name back. I'm Maya Richardson again. Not Mrs. Hartley. Just Maya. I'm not married anymore, obviously. The annulment was finalized 3 months after Damon's sentencing. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still alive. Because I trusted myself when it mattered most. If you take anything from this true crime story, this survival story, this wedding betrayal that almost ended my life, let it be this. Trust your instincts. That voice in your head that says something's wrong. Listen to it. That feeling in your gut that tells you something's off. Don't ignore it. It doesn't matter if it's your partner, your best friend, your boss, your family member. If something feels wrong, it probably is. I almost died because I loved someone who didn't love me back. I almost died because I trusted a man who was planning to murder me for money. But I survived because I listened to that voice. That quiet, persistent voice that said, "This isn't right." And I want you to survive, too. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about a time you ignored your intuition, if it reminded you of your own survival story, please share this video. Hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future true crime stories. And leave a comment telling me about a time you trusted your instincts and it saved you. I want to hear your stories. I need to hear your stories. Because we're not alone in this. We're survivors. And our intuition, it's not just a feeling. It's our superpower. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here.